everyone, and welcome to Writers Drinking Coffee. This is a podcast where writers sit around drinking tasty beverages to talk about writing, publishing, and the whole creative process. There may be rants and raves and opinions that may not agree, but are lovingly delivered. We do not censor ourselves, so consider us PG-13. Today, your spirit guides are John Schmidt and me, Jeannie Warner. This is episode 198, an interview with Dr. Stacey Marie Kerr. Well met, Dr. Kerr. May I call you Stacey?
You may.
We had the good fortune, John and I, to run into Dr. Kerr at a production of the 6th Street Playhouse version of the Book of Will, which, a quick plug to them, everyone should go see that. Wasn't that amazing?
Oh, that was awesome. It was so good.
I think if you have a local theater group that is ever playing the Book of Will, go get it, because no matter how slow or stuttering their lines are, there are echoes of greatness in every line written. I think it's beautiful.
It was beautiful. The cast was excellent in our production, at least. Yeah.
They were, but then John had the good fortune to be sitting next to you and discovered that you had written a book.
That's right. And he turned to me, "Did you write a book?" I said, actually, it's my 3rd book, but it's the one I'm excited about now. So here we are.
And what is that book?
The book I just published, it came out last November, is called Wild Heart, a true story of hippies, healers, and Harleys.
It reminded me very much of somewhere between, I'd read the Motorcycle Diaries and in the Mystic Hills east of Fort Wayne, Indiana, there lived a healer, which was...
Well, people have asked me, how long did it take you to write this book? And the first answer that comes into my mind at the time is, well, I started with a lifetime and then probably a year to get that, as we say, shitty first draft. But you got to live a life to write a life. And then how to put it into a book, that took me the year.
How long did it take you to get the motorcycle?
I started writing when I was in my mid to late 50s, I guess.
So that's my next step, John, is apparently I have to go buy a motorcycle. Although I might be dead very quickly, because I really love speed so much.
Oh, it sure feels good. These days, you don't have too many standard shift vehicles, and to run through the gears sitting on top of a Harley is a wonderful feeling for me.
Well, I was taught how to ride a motorcycle when my first boyfriend, so I was a senior in high school, and he had a dirt bike, the sort you had to jump in the air, and you motorcycle people, the two of you will know the right words for it, but I had to jump into the air to get it started, and I could never do it right.
Yep.
Kickstart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
my first motorcycle, I mistook first for fourth sometime in the middle of the night while I was in college. And we did a wheelie. We flipped over is what we did. And the bike was not, we didn't ride that again. And I didn't ride again for about 35 years. Because I was busy doing other things. Yeah.
Is that the hippie or the healer part?
Yep, both. First the hippie, then the healer. Although I might say that I've had the healer in me the whole time.
it makes sense. And I actually really enjoyed, I've read the first half of it so far and fallen a little bit in love with the way the healer kind of came out of the physician heal thyself, as it were, of first you had to heal from a family.
Yes.
Then you had to heal from getting involved with somebody that did not love you the way you wish to be loved.
It's true. It's true. And I just, while you touch on that really quickly here, Jeannie, I just want to make it clear that we had a good partnership. He was a good man.
Oh, no, you never for a minute say that he wasn't. It just is for many of us that were involved with somebody in our early 20s, they did not know how to love us the way we wanted to be loved. And that doesn't make them not good people. I still love my first boy. But
Yeah.
We grow up.
But we grow up and we change. And and the story of how we got into that is actually unique and worth reading, I believe.
I think so. You talk about writing while on your journey. Did this book get started on that motorcycle tour? I mean, besides all of the
Actually,
massages and the eating of delicious food.
oh, we three women know how to ride motorcycles on a good tour. I admit to that.
I got to say, John, you told me about the Iron Butt, and her tour involved going through beautiful places and stopping and getting a massage and sitting in hot tubs. And I want to go on girl bike tour.
Yeah, yeah. We created these tours for our liking. Yeah. I write helmet haiku. I love taking photographs, and you cannot take very good photographs, at least the kind I like to take while you're riding a motorcycle. But I see beautiful things I want to remember. And I have a lot of time inside that helmet to think and consider. And so I took to writing helmet haiku that would capture a moment I saw on the motorcycle and preserve it for later memory. And so that part of the book started on the motorcycle trips.
Ah,
And I have those haiku throughout Wild Heart. But truly, the motorcycle trips became the skeleton, the structure to hang the rest of the story on.
yes.
I wasn't sure how to put all this together, and I took a writing workshop that encouraged, it was called somatic writing. And I tend to live in my head. I'm a doctor, and I wrote journalism, and I wrote medical articles for patients to understand things clearly. And I needed to change and write words that emoted, if you will.
I want to, back up a second. I was going to say that is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard anybody say out loud. A doctor that read what the NIH wrote about something and then explained it to their patient. That is so beautiful that I'm almost teary again hearing about it. So,
oh my gosh, that is the most fun. And it's what I loved doing. I'm a family physician, and in my practice before I closed my clinic, I loved sitting there with a patient and explaining to them personally, knowing their lifestyle, their interests. If it's a male, a man who's a mechanic, well, then I'll put the mechanic spin on what's going on with his body so he can truly understand it. And then he has the power to deal with it. And that turned into articles for the newspaper, 600 words or less, describe what it is and what you can do about it. And that's a different kind of writing than what I did for Wild Heart.
it is, but there is the same, you're taking your life and you're putting it in a way that will help them understand and gets it out of your head. So in a way, I would call it very similar.
Well, that's interesting point of view. Yeah, I just wanted to empower the patient to handle their own body and health in the best way possible. Knowledge is power.
It is. And I got to say, you wrote about some of your early years, early 20s, the farm. Now, John and I know many people who have said in one way or another, they want to go live off grid. They want to go form their own commune. And this, your writing about pooping in the wood alone should make your book mandatory reading for anybody who thinks that they want to go, no, we'll just build everything up from scratch.
Yes, well,
You do not shortchange them at all with this is a lot of work.
it was a lot of work, but we were young and we were out to save the world. And the farm turned into the biggest commune in the United States. There were at least 1,500 people there at one time. And we truly thought by banding together and doing it, quote unquote, right, we could make a huge difference. And we did make a difference. But living that lifestyle off grid, I realized was going to make me old before my time. And I had more in me that I needed to do. And so I left the farm and went to medical school.
I think that makes sense. I loved how you approached in saying these are the midwives, and this is, I mean, midwifery is such an interesting time. It's bringing a new life into the world. It's watching lives go out of the world. I enjoy in the Far East, they worship the goddess Kali. So sure, she's dead and blood and skulls, but she's also childbirth.
Yes. And I tell you, delivering babies was some of the most fun I had when I was in practice. And yeah, I remember them all. And I see them now as adults and what they're doing, and they're all my babies.
Well, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, yeah, I was there. Yeah.
absolutely. And getting back to how you started writing this, how long did it take you end to end to write this beautiful, it's like an autobiography, but at the same time, you tell it in a way that is both now and then. So it's not just chronological. It actually has a sort of, I love the frame you used of bike tour.
Thank you. Yeah, like I say, it took me a lifetime to create the story, if you will, and then probably a solid year of working in workshop to figure out what the framework was going to be and the content to get that shitty first draft. And then
Right.
I worked with editors for, it was probably almost a whole nother year before the book actually was published. And I learned in that second year how important editors are. I love the editors I worked with. They made such a difference and they taught me so much.
Editors can be seriously unsung heroes. So you actually, did you hire an editor, or I saw that you published through Girl Friday Books. Did they work with you in that way, or?
They did. I hired a developmental editor before I submitted it to Girl Friday
Okay.
because it was truly rough. And she gave me some excellent tips. I went through the whole book, and I know some writers love to write but hate to edit, or vice versa. I liked editing. It was easy. Oh yeah, that's a better way of doing it, and I do that. And I liked the editing process. So I worked with a developmental editor first. Then I submitted to Girl Friday, and they agreed to publish with me. And I have only positive to say about what Girl Friday did for me and with me. They gave me a developmental editor. What, another one? Yes. And then a copy editor and a proof editor. And each step of the way, I was sure the book was done and perfect and ready to publish. And then I'd get my feedback and go, oh my God, they're so right. And we just worked it into shape through all these editors. And I told them at the beginning, what I want is a book the best I can do it. And they supported me in that goal.
Oh, that is the most excellent approach. Even at work, when I sometimes have people say, this is a blog, and I'm like, and I go through and I do some basic, not so much copy editing. That's not my job. I'm just sort of, and I give it back and they come up with, oh, you changed things. I must have been horrible. I'm like, no, you weren't. You were wonderful.
Yeah. There was one editor, the one who made a huge, well, I can't say one was more than the other, but anyway, one of the editors I felt was rather cold. Like, did you like my book? I wanted to ask her. Were there parts you liked? Because we want somebody to stroke us a little. And no, she was totally business.
Yeah.
But
Well, in a weird
that
sort
was
of way, you think it wasn't really her job to like it or not like it. It was her job to, do her best.
And that was a lesson for me. They're not there to stroke your ego. They're there to find and fix and be the reader that you aren't. I mean, some things, when you write a book, you take it for granted that everybody knows ABC. And in the book, I say, no, I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna be a doctor. No, I'm gonna be a physician, a spiritual physician, I wrote.
Yes.
And the editor says, what is a spiritual physician? Is there a special college you go to for that? And I had to laugh because of course there's not. Doesn't she get it? And then I realized there are people who will read this book who would ask that question. And I thanked her and clarified.
I have a friend she was briefly a medical doctor, and then I think she discovered she didn't like people that much. So she went into a veterinary practice. And every once in a while, she is the most literal person I know. So I think sometimes there are just people that are perhaps a little bit more literal in the moment. And I love that your book can reach anybody that way by explaining what you mean.
Yeah, I am grateful for that as well.
So how how did you write then in your process? If it wasn't something you wrote on your motorcycle at every stop, and in my head it is, so you go ahead and blow away my illusions here and say,
Well, it's true. I did keep journals on the motorcycle rides,
Okay.
which were invaluable when I went to write the book. But when I started this workshop for somatic writing, it was suggested that we all write by hand because the process of pen to paper to brain, or vice versa, brain to pen to paper, is different than keyboard. And I saw the value of that. I could see how the neural network might work differently that way. So for about 3 days, I tried that. And I don't write well by hand. I start cutting corners. Heck, I'm a doctor.
my hand would hurt.
My hand hurt, but I couldn't read my own writing.
Oh, thank you for bringing that stereotype to life. I appreciate it.
And so I went back to the keyboard. I guess there was a little bit of that old dig a hole in the woods to go poop instead of in the open on a public outhouse. I didn't let anybody know I was keyboarding still because it was kind of not cool.
Right.
But I keyboard, and I like to type because I can edit. I can get my words out quickly. I can, it just works for me. The computer does. But I found this interesting thing happening as I was developing the book, that it'd be nighttime. I'd want to go to sleep, and I'd be trying to go to sleep, but I'd be thinking about some part of the book I was chewing on. How am I going to say that? Where am I going to put that? Do I want to put that in? So I'd chew on that, and it would actually put me to sleep. And I'd wake up in the morning with an idea about that.
Nice.
And that was so motivational. I'd get up, go, oh, I know exactly what I want to do with that piece. And it would fire me up for the next day at the keyboard. And I started looking forward to those magical moments, if you will, where I work it out in my subconscious and wake up with a plan.
I love that. I have 2 dreams that I need to have because I've got everything except for I can't quite connect C to D. I've got A, B, C, and then the rest of it. So
that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, Jeannie. Yeah, going to sleep to thinking about how am I going to connect those up, and waking to an idea. It felt great.
Well, I want to shamelessly praise something in general about this being an autobiography for you. It's not just about you, as you write about the times. And I think sometimes we're a little bit at the mercy of either the historians who write about a time or the newsprints who write about a time. Having human beings write the story of other human beings and themselves being real and fallible, and what was easy about being a girl then and what really wasn't so easy, and some of the very unfortunate conversations you had that made me cringe and say, yeah, I can totally see that happening. This is what it was like to be a woman in this location at this time. This is what it's like to have conservative parents, even in a very liberal place at this time.
Yes. And some of the things that happened in the early 70s, and getting pregnant and abortions illegal. I had a flight planned to New York from Missouri, where I was living at the time.
Yeah, I knew Missouri was rough, but wow, those were even worse laws than I thought.
Yep, it was tight. And in doing research for this book, it's very interesting. I never thought to look into whether cohabitation in the state of Missouri was illegal, as we were told.
How funny.
Yeah. So doing the book, I decided, hey, I'm going to find this out. I wrote the University of Missouri and asked the law school to look into it, please. And we were totally schnookered.
Oh my God, seriously?
Seriously.
Oh,
there was no cohabitation law in the books. I don't regret it.
No, it's still just one of those cases of, wow, people in authority willing to lie to make you do what they think is right.
Exactly. Well said.
Good.
Yeah.
Although, well, you said Missouri, right? But still.
Yeah, well, and I love Missouri, but
and I was kind of delighted to know that the farm in this commune was in Tennessee. I mean,
Well, land was cheap in Tennessee.
well, the weather's there is better than like they couldn't do this in Colorado. It's just too cold, too miserable.
Oh, that's true. It was hot and humid. We had chiggers and ticks and
Chiggers.
oh yeah, yeah. But no, it was good. It got cold enough, but not like Colorado.
Awesome. So this is, I mean, I'd only seen that you had that you said this was your third book. I know that you did one on different paths of childbirth and midwifery. What was the other book?
It was not published.
Okay.
I include it because I did write it, but I don't know if you have heard of Storyworth.
No, tell me about it.
Storyworth is a product people can buy, and my daughters, I have 2 daughters, and they bought it for me one year at Christmas. And what it is you get a writing prompt every week.
Ah,
And you write an essay answering that prompt. And my daughters picked the prompt. Well, actually, the eldest mostly picked these prompts. And so each week I would get a question and then I would consider it. Usually my first consideration was, no way, I'm not writing about that. And then a few days later, I'd think, oh, I know what I could say to that. And then I'd write an essay. And topics like, if you had to go back in time and start a brand new career, what would it be? Or what's the first major news story you can remember living through as a child? Just questions like that. And 52 of them.
well,
And I wrote to about 48 of them.
that's
And
impressive.
that was turned into a book that my family has. And just a few limited copies of that between Home Birth in the Hospital and Wild Heart.
Well, you know, the saying that Ray Bradbury said, you should write a short story every week because it's not possible to write 52 bad short stories in a row. I can see the
Yeah.
prompt. John, you did prompts too for a little bit, not just Inktober, right?
Oh yeah, there's a number of training methods using prompts, and there's even a Reddit which gives you daily or weekly prompts if you're willing to be addicted to Reddit. The nice thing I'm seeing about Storyworth here is that they will, at the end of your 52 weeks of prompts, bind up the book and send it to you.
Exactly.
So
Nice.
Exactly. So I have a hard copy, a hardback copy, and I could put photographs in there. And both of my daughters have one and my boyfriend has one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Will you indulge us with a helmet haiku? Part
I
of the
would
story of your book.
love to do that.
I would love to hear that from you.
I would please.
Oh, how shall I pick one? Okay, I opened the book and this is what popped up. This is helmet haiku. How to stay upright. Just keep going and don't stop. Works on bikes and life.
I like it.
Oh my, that's wonderful.
That one was after a particularly gnarly ride through a rain, hail, thunderstorm in the Southwest. It was intense. Yeah.
I got to send that to Nancy Jane Moore. She did a haiku every day for a year just to keep herself crazy through all of this. Too much sanity is overwhelming, but that's good.
Well, okay, here's another one.
Okay.
What I tell myself when riding with my posse. Note, ride your own ride.
I like it.
If you don't do that, you get into trouble.
Yeah, but part of riding is you want to find some trouble.
Yeah, but not that kind of trouble. I wrote that haiku, John, after I was following my friend Kristen, who rides a very different bike than I do. We all ride highway bikes because we do those miles, but she has a Victory, I guess. Anyway, we're going real slow, looking for the right place to park our bikes inside a big parking garage. And I'm right behind her, following on her tail. But she can go slower and take turns on her bike that I can't on mine, different style bikes.
Mhm.
But I was following her and not paying attention to my own bike and tipped over. Slow turn, too slow, tipped over. And both my riding partners leaped off their bikes. The three of us picked mine up, and I got over the shame of people watching me drop my bike, and we went on. And as we rode on, I thought, you blew it, Stace. You were riding as if you were on Kristen's bike. You got to ride your own ride. And then the helmet haiku came.
That's beautiful. I thought, isn't there somewhere that you're not a real motorcyclist until you've laid down your bike at least once?
I don't know. I wish I'd never laid it down, but I've done it enough times. Yeah. Only once where it was a close wreck. Only once. Mostly it's because I was moving so slow and was off balance and it just tipped.
The phrase is there are only two kind of riders, those who've laid the bike down and those who are going to lay the bike down.
Yes,
And the unfortunate truth is there are only two kinds of riders, those who aren't riding and those who are going to lay the bike down again.
True story. True story.
Yeah. I used to say, I had my own rule that people who have never cried in their helmet are liars.
Different, you cry a lot less in a motorcycle helmet than in a sword helmet, but that's a different life.
Probably.
Yes.
Because you take the helmet off to cry. You have that option on the motorcycle, not so much when you're being hit with a sword. Changing this up, you talked way earlier about taking a somatic writing course. Where did you find a somatic writing course?
Tanya Taylor Rubenstein had a business where that is what she taught. She's a writing coach and she taught that. And she used to do it in person from, where was she? Somewhere in New Mexico, Santa Fe, somewhere like that. And COVID hit. So she decided to try a workshop through Zoom. And somehow it came across my desk. And I thought, somatic writing, I should look into this because I've also done theater, community theater, and I know my weakness is living in my head, and somatic appealed to me. So I checked in with Tanya. I had a Zoom meeting one-on-one with her and decided to throw it in with her and do a year-long workshop with her and ended up being about 6 other people, which was a perfect number for all of us to be making our way, our own personal way, and yet looking at each other's progress and work.
You're on her front page, right?
No, I'm on Tanya's front page.
Yes. So if you look at somatic writing, the future of the narrative, of course, we'll include the link. She has some of her authors up front, and there is a lovely quote and picture from you.
Oh.
And several other authors as well, but
Yeah. She, I don't think she's doing it right now, taking a break right now, but I honestly would not have this book without the work I did with Tanya.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I just want to encourage everyone. I'm trying to get my mother to perhaps write more of her autobiography work because, like I said, the truth of the times is something that it falls to the tellers of tales to do.
And I want to do a differentiation here between autobiographies and memoirs.
Fair.
I think autobiography is, pretty factual and A to B to C to D to Z. And a memoir allows you to take a part of your life and focus on it and doesn't require that the facts be 100%. Everything I wrote in Wild Heart is true.
Right.
But some of the conversations happened in a different place, perhaps, than how I wrote it in Wild Heart, because it needed to fit into the structure. So the memoir gives you a little bit of artistic, not factual freedom.
Oh, honey, I'm 90% certain that most of the autobiographies have their own poetic license framed on a wall.
They may have.
I read one of Benvenuto Cellini, and I am certain that everybody who died in the important battles he did not personally kill. And yet
there
he takes
you go.
credit because
there you go.
Who else is writing it?
Yeah. Oh, and I see, John, I'm looking at Tanya's for the somatic writing page here, and I see 2 of the women that were in my group are also up here on her front page, Eva and Hanifa.
Excellent.
So yeah, we all got a lot out of it that year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That can be another opportunity for somebody to know and go look into. If you're looking for that nudge to get you over into the writing, maybe that could be a good resource for somebody.
It could be.
Yeah, we'll be sure to include the link.
What are you working on now?
Well, I'm supposed to be promoting Wild Heart, and writers are not promoters necessarily. And so it's a bit of an uphill battle for me to go out and push the book. I'm supposed to be doing that, but I find that kind of activity kind of gets in the way of creativity. And so I think a lot. I'm generating ideas, what I want to do next. I've written science articles. I've written newspaper articles. Home birth in the hospital, I almost cheated on that one because I interviewed women who'd had babies and got their stories in their words to share with other women, because that's the way we learn and that's the way we support each other.
Yeah.
And so that was the process for Home Birth in the Hospital, with some of my own writing, of course, surrounding and woven in. And now I've written the memoir that I always meant to write. And I would like to write a novel next. I'd like to make up a story. And I'm chewing on ideas for that. That's kind of where I'm at. Put myself to sleep thinking about plots and genres and characters.
Can I make a recommendation to you?
You may.
There are some very specific story forms for specific genres.
Yes.
But one of the things we're seeing now with frankly, the breakdown of traditional publishing, because of the breakdown of traditional bookselling, is you don't have to be constrained by a specific genre. If you write a romance, you're going to want to meet cute and you're going to want a happy ending. But the forms of that can change, and the form of the book can change. So you can get into such, I mean, we have the rom-com, but now I have stumbled into, frankly, a fantasy D&D based horror rom-com, essentially, which, as Jeannie is about to laugh at, is written by
Ursula
one
Vernon.
of my favorite authors, one of my favorite armors, T. King, for sure, the pen name for Ursula Vernon. Thank you, Jeannie.
I can't help it.
So it is more important.
Find all of these, and she's just going to laugh and laugh.
Yeah. If you have the story and the characters, you can worry less about the genre, unless you need to fit a specific form. As Jeannie pointed out earlier in another conversation, you can tell it's science fiction versus fantasy by the length of Carl Urban's hair in the movie. If it's short, it's science fiction. If it's long, it's fantasy.
If it's scary, it's horror. It can be both of those.
Yeah.
Right. And the Paladin series that Ursula Vernon writes has some truly scary horror stuff in it, but it's all actually in the structure of a romance. And
I hear you, John. I do.
I did want to ask, it's one of our questions, and you may not know the terms. Are you a pantser or a plotter?
Oh, I'm a plotter. I'm not a pantser.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely a plotter. I mean, there's a little bit of pantser in there anyway, because things happen. But no, as Jeannie knows now, on our motorcycle trips, we always had reservations for that night. We knew where we were going to stay that night. We knew how the day, at least the ride, was going to go. And sometimes the only thing that kept us going on that day was, hey, we've got reservations that we got to keep. We can't stop yet.
I could have a real bed.
A real bed. And it gave me a feeling of security and structure in an otherwise uncontrollable world. And
Well,
I saw very clearly how much of a plotter I am in my writing as well.
I wanted to wonder something out loud because, like I said, I've really been enjoying your book, and I'll be finishing it up tonight. You had if I was going to pick somebody who wrote fiction in a style that resonates well with you, have you read much Richard Bach?
Yes. back in the day, especially.
Okay, because I mean, I was a child in the 70s who also read Jonathan Livingston Seagull, but Illusions. And in a lot of ways, I can see a little bit of Shimoda in your trip there.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Just for fun. It's like the joke of it was there's no page numbers written on it, because any book that you open, if you just say, I need to know what I should do today, and open it and
Yes.
read that page, the book will tell you what you need to know.
Yes. I love that kind of magic.
And that sort of thing just had a very, I don't know, I feel it could resonate well with you. So just thinking about that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And is there any advice that you would give a new would-be writer?
Right.
Just do it, huh?
I know that's almost not fair.
No,
but
it goes back to the helmet haiku, but you know.
it's all there. It's just right. Like at night on the motorcycle trips, I'd write a couple notes about that day, what we said, where we went, whatever was on my mind. And that became invaluable. I've never been good at keeping a journal like long term. I have probably 20 journals with 3 pages written in them, like many people I know. But writing, it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be edited. Just keep putting the words down. And
sooner or later, the words stop being the trial in front of you and start being the bike under you.
there's a good way of putting it. Yes. And what I needed to work on, and I recommend everybody does, it seemed to work for me, is try to pull people in so they can feel what you feel.
Yeah.
And my theater work helped me with that, because people say, oh, theater, you're just up there telling lies, somebody else's words. And they go, oh, you don't get it. You don't understand. If the person on stage isn't telling the truth, it doesn't work. So they have to make those words be their truth. And when I tried to do that trick, I found a great challenge, emoting, feeling emotions and showing them. And doctors aren't supposed to do that, right? And believe me, you live in a commune with 1,500 other hippies. You don't do that a lot either. But to write a good book so people can feel what you feel and travel that story with you, you have to tell the truth and feel it yourself and express it. And that is what I recommend writers work on.
Which means that they all need to go meet somebody. Well, they need to go find a place that the Book of Will is being performed and read it, because didn't that play just say that to us, full circle of there we were, and they're saying the story matters because you can go and you can fall in love over and over again.
That's right. And you can feel, it's a safe place to feel.
It's
in our culture, you're not, you have to feel in private. And in the theater, well, it's him crying, so I can cry. It's safe.
Yeah, exactly so.
Yeah, we all need a safe place to feel.
We do. Well, we will put links to the fascinating things we've been discussing during this episode on our website, which is www.writersdrinkingcoffee.com. Doctor, thank you so much for taking time with us today. Everybody, this was Dr. Stacey Kerr, and a fascinating person.
I thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope you enjoy the second half of Wild Heart as much as you did the first, Jeannie.
I have every confidence, and John, you can borrow it when I'm done.
That's good, because I'm looking forward to it. But I want to throw one quick thing here. Hippie Healer rides, life and the stage, words and books, pens across the page.
Yeah.
A little helmet haiku back at you.
Would you please write that down for me and send it to me, John? I would like to read those words.
I will put it in the liner notes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Writers Drinking Coffee, a labor of love and enthusiasm put together by the hosts. Our main web magic is cast by Deirdre Schween, and our sound engineer and backup web spiders are David Welsh and John Schmidt. Our intro and exit music are performed by Michael Ingberg. You can hear more from Michael on manyhatsmusic.com. Our podcast sponsors are Jackal Designs, The Bean Street, Arm Street, and wherever you park your bike that night. And hey, have a good ride today.